students, greetings. I am Professor Archana Kaushik from the Department of Social Work, University of Delhi. I welcome you all to the course titled Professional Social Work and its Values, which is part of first semester of Bachelor of Social Work online program initiated by Indira Gandhi National Open University, New Delhi. In this module, we are going to discuss about two important concepts, social work and social action. After completing this module, the students would be able to know the meaning and definitions of concepts like social work and social action, examine the similarity and differences between these two concepts, provide the role and relevance of social action in achieving the goals of social work, and understand the significance of social action as a method of social work practice. Social work, which emerged out of the need to provide relief to the poor in a systematic manner, gradually grew into a semi-profession and then profession having expert knowledge and technical skills for effective provision of help to the needy. Friedlander in 1951 has defined social work as a professional service based on scientific knowledge and skills in human relations, which assists individuals alone or in groups, or obtains social and personal satisfaction and independence. The Indian Conference of Social Work in 1957 maintains that social work is a welfare activity based on humanitarian philosophy, scientific knowledge and technical skills for helping individuals, groups or community to live rich and full life. The global definition by International Federation of Social Workers and International Association of Schools of Social Work in 2014 says, social work is a practice-based profession and an academic discipline that promotes social change and development, social cohesion, and the empowerment and liberation of people. Principles of social justice, human rights, collective responsibility, and respect for diversities are central to social work. Underpinned by theories of social work, social sciences, humanities and indigenous knowledge, social work engages people and structures to address life challenges and enhance well-being. The above definition may be amplified at national and regional levels. Let us study the objectives of social work. Whitmer prescribes two objectives of social work. First, to give assistance to individuals while removing difficulties which they face in utilizing basic services of the society, and to facilitate effective utilization of community resources for their welfare. Friedlander gave three objectives of social work. First, to change in painful situation of individuals. Second, to develop the constructive forces both within and around the individual, and third, to enhance the democratic and humanistic behavior of the individual. Gordon Brown has given four objectives of social work: to provide physical and material support, to help in social adjustment, to help in solving the psychological problems, and to make adequate opportunities for the individuals in problems for raising their standard of living, which can prevent problems from intruding. As far as social work practice is concerned, in the initial stage, it was concerned with helping people to solve their psychosocial problems that have obstructed their effective social functioning. In the course of time, it was realized that social living, as it operates at the practical plane, had three distinct and noteworthy levels of individual, group and community. there was need for dealing with them separately by developing 3 different methods of social work, like social case work dealing with individuals, social group work dealing with groups, and community organization dealing with communities. In course of time, they were accepted as the 3 primary methods of social work. It was also realized that while providing social work help by using these 3 methods, there was always a need for providing some social or welfare services and gathering validated knowledge. And this realization finally culminated into development of 2 subsidiary or auxiliary methods of social work, namely social welfare administration and social work research. In due course of time, it was seriously felt that since psychosocial problems have their roots in faulty social structure and system, and any client facing these problems cannot be held responsible for his or her problems, there was a need for evolving and including some weapon in the armory of social work which could play a significant role in bringing about desired change in society, and thus emerged social action as an auxiliary or secondary method of social work. Important characteristics of social work as it exists today, particularly in India, which has had great social service tradition, are as follows. First, social work is a specialized kind of work. Second, this work is performed by persons who are specifically trained to do this work. And third, education and training for social work equips social workers with some specialized kind of scientific knowledge and technical skills and develops among them a democratic and humanitarian outlook in an orientation. Social work promotes human and social development, ensures fulfillment of human rights, and guarantees performance of social duties, obligations towards family members, people in community, and members of society at large. Social worker may accept compensation for the work done by him or her, either from those who engage him or her or take work from him or her, or from those who benefit from his/her work. At times, moved by altruistic considerations, a trained social worker may be seen providing these services. Let us understand the term social action in some more detail. Every person, by sheer virtue of living in society and therefore being a social animal, does participate in social action. The concept of social action, generally speaking, is comprised of 3 components: social being, social context or situation, and inspiration. As a concept, it originated in sociology, the science of society. Action is to be distinguished from behavior in that it involves meaning or intention. Abercrombie, Hill and Turner in 1986 said, social action in sociology is analyzed in terms of typical actors in typical situations by identifying actors' goals, expectations and values, the meanings of achieving those goals, the nature of situation and the actor's knowledge of that situation. There are 2 main forms of action theory: hermeneutic and positivist. Hermeneutic theorists like Schultz uphold that action invariably has meaning. Positivists like Parsons explain action in terms of goals and means defined by social structure and internalized in the course of socialization. However, social action in social work, which is considered as one of its auxiliary methods, is different from that in sociology. The review of available literature on social action reveals that there is no unanimity on the concept of social action, which has quite often been confused with community organization, community work and community action. It was Mary Richmond who in 1922 used this term for a mass movement through propaganda and social legislation. Since then, a number of definitions have been given by various writers on the subject. Some noteworthy among them may be discussed here. Kenneth Prey in 1945 mentions that social action is the systematic conscious effort directed to influence the basic social conditions and problems out of which arise the problem of social adjustment and maladjustment, to which our service as social workers is directed. Friedlander in 1963 states that social action is an individual, group or community effort within the framework of social work philosophy and practice that aims to achieve social progress, to modify social problems and to improve social legislation and health and welfare services. Elizabeth Wickenden in 1956 says that social action is the term applied to that aspect of social welfare activity directed towards shaping, modifying or maintaining the social institution and problems that collectively constitute the social environment. Social action is concerned with adjustment of the social environment to meet recognized needs of individuals and to facilitate those relationships and adjustments necessary to its own best functioning. Arthur Dunham in 1958 said that social action may be defined as efforts to bring about change or prevent change in current social practices or situations through education, propaganda, persuasion or pressure in behalf of the objectives believed by the social actionist to be socially desirable. K.K. Jacob in 1965 defines social action as essentially an effort aimed at initiating suitable changes and reforms to improve social economic conditions and to better social climate. M. V. Murthy in 1968 states that social action is a social work technique which makes entire community or at least a large number of its members conscious of the unsatisfactory state of affairs and desirous of effective solutions. Thus, social action may be defined as a method of social work in which conscious, systematic and organized efforts are made under the guidance of professional social worker by some elites and or people themselves to bring about change in the system which facilitates the problem solving and eradication and thereby improves the conditions in society to enable people, particularly the weaker and vulnerable sections, to optimally realize their potentials and effectively function as part and parcel of the mainstream of society. Important characteristic features of social action as used in social work are: it is a method of social work which is practiced in close collaboration with other methods. It aims at bringing about change in social structure and system to enable people realize their innate and inherent capacities and to participate in social functioning at equal plane. The ultimate aim of social action is to promote equality as well as economic and reduce injustice, abuse and exploitation. The process of social change sought to be introduced through social action may be reformative in nature, directed towards eradication of social evils, or it may be developmental, geared towards creation of new institutions or strengthening the existing institutions threatened by vested interests of certain dominant sections of society. The method of social action seeks to usher in desired changes in society through conscientization, awareness generation, promotion of social integration, formation and strengthening of people's own organizations, formulation of conducive policies, enactment of socially healthy laws, eradication of existing social evils which impede the desired development of people and retard social progress. Social action in its basic nature is non-violent. Undoubtedly, there are vested interests in society, that is, the powers which exercise domination and rule want to perpetuate the status quo. They become impatient due to organized strength of the people involved in social action and direct the state machinery to suppress the voice of dissent, even by resorting to violent methods. Though there are some writers like Brito who advocate the conflictual nature of the social action process, maybe because it creates some kind of conflict between the vested interests of the privileged and rich and genuine interests of the underprivileged and depressed. Yet at the practical plane, it has to adopt and follow the method and techniques which do not lead to violence and bloodshed. Social action as a method contemplates that all power is taken away from the so-called do-gooders, and it should actually be transferred to the people who are the intended beneficiaries, and in order to achieve this, it takes recourse to desired transformations in social policies, laws, plans and programs. Let us enlist the objectives of social action. The overall objective of social action is to proper shaping and development of socio-cultural and economic environment in which a richer and fuller life may be possible for all the citizens. The following goals have been identified in connection to social action: prevention of unfulfilled needs, solution of mass problems, improvement of mass condition, influencing institutions, policies and practices, introduction of new mechanisms or programs, redistribution of resources which may be human, material and moral, appropriate decision making for effects of thought, action and structure, and social development through change. Let us now look at the relation between social action and social work. Social action as a method of professional social work practice is an organized effort to change or improve social and economic institutions through organization and mobilization of the community people. Unlike other methods of social work, social action emphasizes on long-term essential changes in established social institutions. Social action covers movements of social, religious and political reform, social legislation, racial and social justice, human rights, freedom and civic liberty. Previously, social action was considered as a tool within the field of community organization, but now it has been considered as a separate method of social work practice. As a method of social work, social action adheres to the philosophy of professional social work. It does not blame people for the deficiency or problem. It strongly believes in the worth and dignity of humans. Social action rejects the doctrine of laissez-faire and survival of the fittest. The unfit person has the same fundamental rights as do the more fit, and the rich or powerful is not necessarily fit, and nor a poor or weak is indeed unfit. It adopts a commitment to the capacity of all the people to take action to improve their life circumstances. It grounds this action on the process of open participation in which people, preferably collectively, explores the underlying social issue of their life situation as the foundation of social action. To conclude, the definition of the term social work may be taken from the conference of the International Association of Schools of Social Work and International Federation of Social Workers in 2001 held in Copenhagen. It says, the social work profession promotes social change, solving problems in human relationships and empowerment and liberation of people to enhance well-being, utilizing the theories of human behavior and social systems. Social work intervenes at the point where people interact with their environments. Principle of human rights and social justice are fundamental to social work. And social action is the collective endeavor to bring the desired changes in the existing structure or preventing undesirable change through a process of making people aware of the socio-political and economic realities, conditioning their lives and mobilizing them to organize as the living force so as to work for their own betterment. In addition, through social action, the organized people themselves with conscious effort stand against a change that adversely affects them. In this task, the social worker or social activist who guides the action helps them to use whatever strategies found to be workable for achieving the desired goal, with the exception of resorting to violence. Thank you very much.